We'll now go on board with John Cope and Rob Fagg as they started stage 4. And still the weather was causing problems. Mud had been pulled onto the tarmac, making conditions even slippier.
Keep out. Left 2, keep out into right 1. Ooh. Side and flat right into grid.
Welcome to another episode of my Off the Track Motorsport podcast. This podcast is proudly supported by both Viking Offshore and Carbon Positive Motorsport. Viking Offshore is a leading global company in the offshore renewable and shipping sector and is proudly committed to giving back. In partnership with Carbon Positive's offsetting initiatives, we all aim to retain our sport and environment for future generations. Please visit carbonpositivemotorsport.com to learn more about how you can be a part of this and help us all be positive about motorsport. So it's live. John Cope, welcome. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I seen your entry. I'm going to get straight into it. I'm not hanging about. The reason I was excited to talk to yourself was because the entry list has come out for the 2024 Mull Rally this year, and your name has come up. You're back in. Tell me about it. What's brought this in after such a long break? I mean, how many years has it been now? Did you say to me it was 8 years since you did the Mull Rally?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's 8 years since I last competed on Mull, and I sort of fell out, if you like, with trying to chase the dream, I suppose. I got to a point where I just didn't think that I was competitive enough, and decided to take a break. And sort of one thing led to another, and it sort of went from 1 year to 2 years to 5 years, and then all of a sudden it's 8 years down the line. So for this year, it all depended on whether I could get accommodation, really. And I've been trying to find accommodation for the last couple of years with no success. And all of a sudden I found something on booking.com. I was just a little while ago, that's all. And I thought, you know what? I'll go and do it.
So that's what brought it on. You were just looking for the accommodation, then a wee surprise check, and here we go. We're booked in. We're away.
Yeah, pretty much. I've not been doing much rallies, many rallies. So it just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed the right time. Let's put it that way.
So you just needed like a natural break for a few years to kind of recollect things and kind of bring yourself back together to have another go at it.
Yeah, I think, it was a case of, like I say, I'd sort of fell out with it, and not just Mull in itself. It was, in a lot of rallies, to be fair. I've reined it back in over the years. I don't do that many rallies anymore, and so it was, like I say, it was just a natural thing. I just thought, you know what, I'll go back to it and revisit it. But I'm under no illusions that things have moved on, and I'm not as competitive as I was. So I don't think we'll be back to the days of 2005 where I was right at the sharp end. But who knows,
Yeah. And what car are you entered in? Is it an R5 car or is it a Rally 2 car?
It's an R5, yeah. I've had it for about 18 months, 2 years now. And I've been struggling with it, to be fair. They take a lot of getting used to, especially with the Subaru. I knew exactly what it'd do and how it would handle in certain circumstances, and as a consequence, it was it's very difficult, especially when you get a little bit older in life, to transition. So it has been difficult for me.
I had a similar conversation with Jonathan Mounsey, and obviously when he was in his Evo, he was very, very used to that car, and he was driving it on the absolute limit. And he said, the Rally 2 car, it's taken a wee bit of getting the hang of. Now, obviously, he's up to pace now, but there were certainly some differences in it that for myself to jump into. I've not got any kind of basis out with that, so I was kind of learning it from afresh. But certainly, what's the good parts to the car? What's the differences that you found?
Predominantly, it's braking and it's turning. They turn so quickly in comparison to the Subaru um, that it sort of takes you back a little bit. I find myself turning into a corner and then turning back out because it's so sensitive. So that's part of it. And second thing is the stopping power is phenomenal in comparison to the Subaru. Even though the Subaru had very, very good brakes, you can certainly drive another 20 yards, 30 yards further before you need to brake in these R5 cars.
Yeah. So have you had to adjust like your pace notes and stuff from the rallies that you've done before, now that you're in the R5 car compared to the Subaru?
Um, my notes are fairly basic, so they work for both types of cars, really. Well, I hope they do anyway.
Yeah.
But I haven't changed. I haven't changed much at all in my style of making notes.
Okay. And how have you been getting on in the rallies that you've been doing of late?
Um, well, I've done a couple of single venues again, just to like say get myself more comfortable in the car, and we have. I've had a win and a second on a single venue, but single venue isn't down the lanes, and I've been definitely struggling with setup down the lanes. We've actually just done the Pendragon last weekend, and we put some different strings on it and softened it off, and it seems to be a lot better for me. But unfortunately, we only managed 4 out of the 8 stages because we found a cracked hub. So
Oh no.
I would like to have obviously done the whole day because confidence was starting to build. But ultimately, like I say, we found this cracked hub, and that was the end of the day, really.
That's a shame. That is a shame. And so,
Yeah.
what did you do with the springs? Did you actually put stiffer springs on it?
No, it came with the if you like the standard setup with 60 Newton meter springs on it. We've gone to a softer front and rear spring, and I've just and it seems to have made a lot of difference. Where I was struggling was on a single track road where you got the camber of the road, the car driving me and not me driving the car, if you like. And
Okay.
so yeah, I've been struggling a little bit, but it was a lot better on Sunday. The good thing about Sunday was we got 2 stages in the dry and 2 stages in the wet.
Uh-huh.
So, like I say, ultimately, yes, we might have not finished the whole day, but at least we got 2 in the dry and 2 in the wet. And like I said, we messed around with a little bit of setup, and yeah, it was promising. But like I say, unfortunately, we didn't finish.
Yeah. So, was it kind of like skittish on the road then, was it? Was it
Yeah,
kind of just
yeah,
like throwing you about and quite darty?
yes, yeah. It was like pulling me left and right, if you like. Like I say, the way I term it is the car was driving me, and I wasn't in control of the car really.
Yeah.
A lot,
And then
lot
that
better.
obviously doesn't promote a lot of confidence to really push on with the
Correct.
car, does it?
Yeah, exactly that.
You've been using this R5 car and you've been kind of working on the setup, and we spoke that you had a break from Mull. Is Mull, tell me in your words, like what Mull means to you and how important that is. And the reason I was asking that in regards to the setup, like, are you setting the car up now and trying to get a feel for it with Mull in the mindset, or are you just doing that to get a better feel for the car in general?
Yeah, I think ultimately, I'd be stupid not to have set the car up formal. The idea is, like I say, I get more comfortable in the car, and you're only going to carry the speed if you've got, like I say, if you're comfortable. And certainly, like I say, ultimately, you want the setup right formal for the next rally you're going to do. So the whole idea of doing Pendragon was to get, like I say, a little bit of confidence back, and it's not 100% indicative of what Mull is, but it's the closest thing, and it was the closest thing to the rally, if you like. So like I say, it was just a case of just getting some miles really, and getting it set for Mull.
Yeah,
Now, for
good.
me, for the actual rally itself, as I at one point in time I was very serious about trying to win the rally. We went through a period when I had the Escort Cosworth. From there to having the Subaru till about 2000, I don't know, 2012, something like that. I think I tried fairly hard to win the rally, but ultimately, again, found myself with younger drivers with bigger budgets or no budget, but ultimately the car was given to them, and I'm under no illusions. I'm getting older and I'm getting slower. So at that point, I think that's when it started to tail off. The interest for me started to tail off, and that's when I decided to take a break. So
Yeah. So you spent a lot of time kind of fighting for that elusive win that just
yeah,
every year coming back, and did it almost consume you a wee bit for a lot of years?
yeah, it did. Yeah, around the 2005 mark, when in real terms, that was the time when I should have won the rally. But at that point in time, I was fairly desperate to win the rally then. But as you get older, you mellow and you just let things go a little bit. You're not quite as intense, and I enjoy I enjoy doing the rally. But as I said to you, you get to a point where you think to yourself, "This is never going to happen." So, are you doing it for the wrong reason? So that's why I took a step back.
Yeah, yeah. You've spent. I had a look at the dates on the EWRC. Now I'm going to say, is your first Mull Rally 1989 ish?
86.
86.
Yeah. Came up with a Mark II Escort, drove the car from Manchester up to the rally with 6 Forest tyres in the back of the car, did the rally, and drove it back.
Fantastic. And back then it was 1992, I believe, that it changed to a closed road rally.
Yeah,
So that would have been the proper original format where it was just maps and time trials in the forest. Is that right?
that's right. Yeah, I didn't do it in that period of time. In between, obviously being a um, a road event, if you want to call it that, and being a closed road, I didn't do any of the forest rallies. So um, like I said, I only made the leap when it became a stage rally, and I came back with the Sierra then,
Yeah.
and yeah,
So you've got quite a lot of experience on the event. You've been doing it for quite a few years now.
yeah. I counted up. I think I've done it 24 or 25 times, something like that. And taking a lot of holidays there as well. To be fair, we certainly come up at least once a year. Even though I've not been doing the rally, we still come up and we take a family holiday, or me and my wife come up or whatever and spend a week up there. So, like I say, ultimately, I haven't forgotten where the roads go.
And do you bring the pace notes up and get your wife to read them when you're off on holiday?
Last week I did.
Oh, did you really? Have you just been up?
Yes, I was going to come up for the 50th anniversary celebrations. Obviously, that was postponed, and as a consequence, everything was booked. So we thought, well, we'll still come up anyway. And so yeah, brought the pace notes up, and my wife read the notes.
Fantastic. And how are the roads? I've actually been away on my honeymoon for 2 weeks, and yeah, I've been hearing that there's been a lot of tarmacking, and it's quite smooth now. Have you noticed some changes?
Well, there are certain sections that they were in the process of retarmacking while we were there. Um, but there were no real new sections from when I came up in April, because we took
Okay.
a holiday in April, and there were no new sections since then. But there's quite a lot of sections that look like that they're going to be done. before the rally. So yeah.
So there'll be a lot of last minute wrecking for people and quick adjustments of the notes.
I think so, yeah. That, as I call it, that horrible black tar that just absorbs the lights is, yeah, you'll need to know where it is.
Yeah, and it'll be grippy in the dry, but not so much in the wet.
Yeah, exactly that, yeah. So we'll have to, like I said, we'll have to hope for a dry rally.
I know. Well, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, actually, and the law of averages says that we're due a dry rally because it's been wet for about the last 5 or 6 years. The last time it was probably dry was when you did it.
All right, could well be. I can't remember whether it was dry or wet, to be fair, when we did it. But yeah, dry rally would be good.
Yeah.
It makes tyre choice easy.
Yeah, it certainly would. I was just, it's some good memories. It's nice to get a chat with you, John, because I remember you've been there right from the start of my kind of rallying career, if you will. And I remember there was 1 year we did well in the R2 car, and then the next year, on the second stage of the hill road, I put it off, and then I seen you at the regroup later on, either that night or the next day or whenever it was, and you gave me an absolute bollock, and you said you've done really well last year, and now you're now it's going to your head, and you're driving like an idiot.
I remember seeing the car off. I know exactly where it went off, even now, like you say, and just thought to myself, "You stupid fool."
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what happened.
We all
I did
do
what I
it,
said I was going to do.
We all do it. I've had some fair accidents on Mull for sure, and some stupid ones as well. But yeah, all tend to happen on Calgary. I don't know why, but they all seem to happen on Calgary.
Is that right? Whereabouts in Calgary have you had some big offs?
I have cartwheeled down at Calgary Beach. Just before the toilet, just before the toilet block.
The bit with the white stones as you're coming down the hill.
As you come down the hill, and then you go left where you'd go to the car park. And then it sort of goes left, and then it goes right, and then left, and there was a little bump there. And I got caught out on the bump, and it threw us sideways, and eventually cartwheeled down the road in front of John Price. And then on Calgary, over the big jump bridges, coming towards Dervig, we basically, how we didn't hit the bridge parapet, I don't know, but we went across one of the bridges absolutely sideways. That was in the old Group N car. So that one was probably the biggest. And then when we had the incident on Tosbury Hairpin, there was some gravel put down on the stage, and we struck a rock with the Group A Escort. And also, just further up than Tosbury, I put it off with a Subaru as well. So it's a bit of a bogus stage for me, really.
Yeah. And so if that's probably, I don't know if you would say the one that you've had the least luck on, what's your favourite stages on Mull?
Well, it's got to be the locks.
Is that one of your favourites, is it?
Yeah, the locks from Dervig to Tobermory. Yeah. I've held the record numerous times across there, so it's got to be my favourite.
Yeah. It's funny because I do the road so much, like any time you're going wrecking, you would go out the Dervig road, and then you would basically, because I've done it so much, I don't even really bother. We'll maybe read the notes for the Dervig road, but I'm just so fed up of the road that the recce starts once I get to Dervig, and then you'd maybe go up the hill road or around Calgary or something, and then down Alva, and you'll start to do your recce from there. But for me, the Glen Road, absolutely love it, and this year we're getting 3 goes at it.
Yeah, well, probably the Glen Road is my bogus stage, but only from north to south, because it's so fast. You've got to have balls of steel.
What do you think of the route this year?
I think it's cracking. Yeah, I think it's a really, really good route. I wouldn't say that was one of the reasons why I did make the decision to come back, but certainly seeing the route in principle at first, it heightened the interest for sure.
Yeah.
Good route.
When I seen it, I thought this is fantastic. And then actually, we're not going to get the Greeben rocks exactly, but the pictures behind you that's Greeben, is it? You were telling me before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're not going to get that, unfortunately. I still don't know why they won't particularly allow that bit, and yet there are other bits on the island that I think is just as scary.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's maybe talk that if they put an Armco in, or the council was to put an Armco in, then that would allow it to run.
Right.
But then there's obviously the money that's involved in that, and cost versus demand, and what they're going to get out of it. It's probably not worth it for them.
You can pursue that one, Fergus.
Yeah, I'll do a couple of sponsored cycles.
Good man.
So what's been your favourite car over the years?
I think the fact that I held on to the Subaru for so long was got to be the Although I did like the Group A Escort as well, unfortunately, I think the Escort was just too heavy. It weighed nearly 1,400 kilos. It handled all right. It was a bit. Yeah, the rear suspension geometry wasn't brilliant on it. Whereas obviously when they went to the World Car, the Subaru was it was a definite step forward from being fully active as well. And driving that more and more just wanted you to go faster and faster in it, for sure. It was a real driver's car. The more you pushed it, the more you got out of it.
Yeah. And was it sequential or paddle shift that was in it? Was it paddles?
No, it's H pattern.
In the Subaru?
Yeah.
I'm sure I've seen some in-car with paddle shift for you somewhere.
No. I changed gear that fast.
No, it was a cracking looking car.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, the Subaru got to a point where it was too valuable to rally. So that was the reason why I eventually sold it.
Yeah, and then it's like financially as well. You're in the R5 car. Is there a reason that you're in an R5 compared to the Rally 2?
Again, it was all to do with cost. I didn't want to jump in with both feet and buy a Rally 2 car to find out that I can't get on with it, or I don't like it, or so my way of thinking was, first of all, I wanted a right-hand drive car, and Rally 2 were only, there weren't that many Rally 2 cars about, and certainly very few right-hand drive versions. But I didn't want to jump in with both feet and buy a Rally 2, and then, like I said, decide very, very shortly afterwards that I didn't like it. I found this a challenge even with the R5 car. Now, I don't know whether the Rally 2s are easier to drive or not. I haven't got a clue. I've never driven one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was all to do with cost, to be fair.
Yeah. But still trying to get the hang of it anyway.
Yes. Still, like I say, I feel like I made steps forward now, but not to the point where I think I can challenge anywhere near the front runners on Mull. Yeah, well, the idea this year is to go and have fun.
Yeah, good.
And like I say, if I can get on the calendar, I'll be happy enough. But that in itself, I think, will be a challenge.
Do you really think so? Because you've got so much experience on it. You know where you're going.
Yeah, but there's some very quick lads, and you don't need an R5 car to be quick up there, as Callum's proved in the past. Numerous people have proved in the past. You don't need an R5 car to do really well there.
Yeah. See, how did you get into rallying? What was the starting point? What did you do?
My brother was into rallying. He had a Mark 1 RS 2000, and he influenced me quite substantially when I was only sort of 14. And ultimately, as soon as I could drive a car, it was the case of I got a road car, and the road car became a road rally car very, very quickly.
Okay.
And started doing night events, and had a good 7 years of doing road rallies. So, and that's the other thing, obviously, that coming back to Mull is the interest, because obviously I used to do a lot of night driving, and obviously Mull's predominantly in the dark. So, but yeah, that's how I started. My brother was into it, and he sort of dragged me into it.
Yeah. And then the rest is history, basically. You've spent a lot of... it's been your main hobby for years, I suppose, has it?
Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. There's been nothing else. That I've taken a break a couple of times. I got married and sold the car. Then I built this Sierra, and finished. I think we finished 8th and 9th on Mull in consecutive years with that, and that was the sort of the point at which it really ignited me interest in trying to go for even faster and get even better. And then we had a Group N Escort Cosworth that was okay, but it wasn't competitive enough. So we ramped that up to a Clubman Group A, and then we bought the proper Group A car, which in comparison was phenomenal. That was a 7-speed box version. That
Okay.
that was that was hard work, because you could never take your hand off the gear lever.
Oh, and was it like quite close ratio then because of the 7 gears?
Yeah, very close ratio. Like I say, a lot of the time you didn't even need first gear, but obviously you set off in first, and then you were through the box, and you were literally changing gear all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good car. That really put me up another level.
Uh-huh.
And like I say, until we bought the Subaru, and then that took me up another level, and that spurred me on to get even faster and faster, and like I say, and win the rally. But it was never to be. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's never going to happen, but it's unlikely. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So when you're not rallying, what is it you actually do? Have you got a business yourself, or
Yes,
what's been work over the years?
yeah. Work over the years. We had a family engineering business for, well, it's my father's. He passed it down to me,
Yeah.
along with my two brothers, and we're in engineering, heavy engineering. We used to make rollers for the printing, packaging, ceramics, and glass industries. Anywhere where a product was made, you need rollers to convey it down what we call down a line. And we used to make the rollers that went into machinery that made either, like I say, paper, plastic, ceramics, glass. And we did conditioning rollers where you used to put we used to make metallizing rollers, so where they used to metallize plastic, like for crisp wrappers and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
We used to make all the rules for those machines. And at one point, we were quite a large business. Unfortunately, we closed in 2018. And we've sort of we fell into making carbon fiber and glass fiber tubes, predominantly for the boat industry. But we do them for wind turbines. We do them for where they put magnets inside a carbon fiber tube and separate steel from rubbish.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
we make prop shaft tubes for boats, for the likes of, I don't know, Sunseeker and people like that.
So
But
how do you fall into something like that? Like, if the business actually completely closed in 2018, the first
yes,
business.
yes. That was started by my father in 1953, and it, like I say, we eventually shut it in 2018. But we were making lightweight carbon fiber rollers at the time with machinery that we purchased over the years, and it was a natural progression to, like I say, we already had a customer base for the prop shaft tubes,
Yeah.
and we sort of thought, well, what should we do now? I couldn't afford to retire at that point in time,
Yeah.
because I'm the youngest out of the three of us. Like I say, I couldn't afford to retire at that sort of time, and we just sort of thought, well, let's have this machinery, let's buy this machinery off, and restart making these tubes. And it's been pretty good, to be fair. It's been all
Yeah.
right, but it's not the level of business that we were at when we were making rollers for all those industries.
Okay. And do you find business to be quite stressful?
Not anymore. No, we've taken a huge step backwards. Like I say, we used to employ 120 people on 3 sites, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We
Jesus.
now have 1 employee.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's a huge difference.
yeah. So as a consequence, you don't have the same headaches. You know, you don't go home thinking about 40. Well, in when we actually closed, there was 40 people working for us. And you don't go home thinking about 40 people's livelihoods, and and their wives and children, and paying their wages every week. It's 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 a lot easier, certainly when you get to my age. It's a
Uh-huh.
huge relief, to be fair. It wasn't an easy time by any stretch of the imagination, but looking back at it now, it was the best thing that happened.
Yeah. And was rallying almost like a therapy? Was it a release, an escape from the business world?
Yes. Without a shadow of a doubt, that was the release, like you say. That was the way
Hmm.
to totally blank your mind off from everything that was going on around you. When you go rallying, you have to concentrate 100%, otherwise you go off the road. So that was the escape. That was the way of getting out of the bombardment every day of what is work.
Yeah. And whereabouts is it you're based? Where's home?
In Manchester,
Are you in
just north of
Manchester?
Manchester.
Okay. Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So what would be your local rally to there then? Is the Northwest Stages, is that too far up?
No. Northwest is the most local closed road rally. Yeah. We for the last 2 times that it's run, we've been course car on that.
Uh-huh.
I try and put a little bit back one way or another obviously into the sport. Um, that is one of the ways that I do it. I also help run an event at Cadwell Park for
Okay.
Border Motor Club, along with my brother Tony. So, like I say, that's a way of putting something back into the sport, and I do a little bit of marshalling and what have you. But yeah, that's basically what I do.
Yeah. And is the whole family into it? You say your wife was reading you pace notes and stuff. Is it a full family affair, is it?
Certainly, it went through a phase of being a full family affair. Then we had kids, and obviously that was restricted. But I mean, the kids now are 24 and 22.
Yeah.
So obviously they're living their own lives now, and they still, don't get me wrong, they still they want to come to Mull, they want the family holidays, still enjoy coming. But generally speaking, it's me and my wife, and she reads the post notes, and she's done post notes on quite a few events. But just recently, there's not been that many rallies that I've done anyway, so she's not,
Yeah.
or none of the family really have been. They're all doing their own thing, if you like. So, yeah.
Excellent. Now that's really good. So when are you coming up then? Are you going to come up for a bit more recce then, or what's the
No, I'm
plans?
going to come up. I'll come up. I think I'm coming up on the Saturday before the rally.
Okay.
So I'll do a bit more, obviously a bit more recceing then. But I tried to do my recceing at the beginning of the week and then stop.
Yeah.
Probably because it gets busier. But yeah, I try and do most of it at the beginning of the week. So sort of Saturday to Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I'll stop completely. Otherwise, my head will go to mush.
Have you tried anything different, like simulators, or have you had a go in any simulators or anything nowadays? Because
Give
I think they're
over.
brilliant. I think they're brilliant. They're very, very helpful.
I'm too old. I'm not like you. No. It's all memory for me. Especially on Mull, it's all memory.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I've never been good with simulators, stroke those sort of things where I say I'm crap at games.
Yeah.
No, no, not me.
They're really good, and my dad keeps going on about getting one because he's still racing. He's got a historic Formula 3 car that he's still racing,
Wow.
and yeah, I think the simulator work for the circuits and the track stuff is very helpful. So he's still trying to get one approved in the household to get that in a corner, but you can't quite hide them away, can you?
No, they're a bit too big for hiding away, aren't they? I just for Pendragon last week, I just went. I had the pacenotes in front of me, watching it on the laptop, going through, scrubbing out. I'm not into simulators where you've got to do everything else as well. Forget that.
Yeah. For Mull this year, you're coming up just for the fun of it, but I can believe that partially, but at the same time, I don't believe it for a second because the competitor in you will never leave. And there's so much history there that you will be looking for times and you will be trying to push. Do you think you'll be able to bring it back and hold it there? Now, I'm asking for myself personally as well because I kind of said that, I want to go and I want to really enjoy it because I've put a lot of pressure on myself for years doing the rally, and I want to be able to really soak it all up and enjoy it. And if you come sideways into the junction or at Smitty and you want to do a wee donut, well then just go for it. But when it comes down to it, the competitor in you probably will take over. Do you think you'll be able to enjoy it as much as you would like?
I think so. I'm going to try and not look at the stage times this year. And whether eventually, well, you will do at the end of leg one anyway, because you'll know by leg two where you are anyway, won't you?
Because you get reseeded.
Yeah, exactly that. So I think I'm going to try and enjoy it as much as I can without really looking at the times and thinking I must do better. I've got to push on. I've got to push on. The idea is to try and enjoy it more. And well, yeah, like I say, the competitive streak in you still wants to. Well, the target is to finish on the calendar, so there is
Yeah.
a competitive element there. For whether it's achievable or not remains to be seen.
Yeah. There's obviously a lot of young lads and a lot of new folk that are coming into the rally. What's some advice that you would give them after all the years and the experience that you've got from Mull? And you can even break it down over the legs or get technical or anything. But what sort of good advice would you give the youngsters?
Mull can bite, and it can bite very hard. Don't go at it like a bull in a china shop. Play the long game. The rally will come to you. That's what I think, and that's probably what one of the reasons. Maybe it's one of the reasons I've never won the rally, because I always think about if you have an accident, that just adds insult to injury. It's costly enough as it is without having an accident. So I always want to get to the finish, and in doing that, ultimately you will not be the quickest man on the road. I'm more of a Richard Burns than a Colin McRae, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but it's better for the budget, isn't it, if you can actually get to the end most of the times.
Exactly. And then you've got a car that you can use again on the next rally.
Yeah.
So
It's difficult to go that extra wee bit, isn't it?
That'd be my advice. Like I say, don't go at it too fast, too hard.
Yeah, it's an endurance event, really, isn't it?
Well, not in your case.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly looking forward to it this year, John, and looking forward to seeing you there. I was very excited to see you on the entry list, so it was good to have a bit of a chat. I'm sorry that the signal's kind of slightly broken, but that's the perks of the Western Isles. But here we are. But yeah, thanks very much, and we will see you on Mull in October.
Yeah, definitely, I'll be there, one way or another.
Excellent. All right, John. Well, thanks for the chat, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Cheers.